One line is much thinner, it just crossed the other. The thin line has a name, Ferrari. The thick line belongs to LVMH. Thick means scale, thin means scarcity. Scale just lost to scarcity.
Why would a company deliberately sell less? That single question breaks nearly every rule of modern business logic.
This is the story of a company that treats its own paying customers as a risk it carefully manages in Maranello. Demand was never treated as a goal to chase. It's a problem they solve by refusing. Every other luxury house on earth chases scale relentlessly. Ferrari built an entire religion around scarcity instead.
And by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why that gamble made it the most profitable car maker alive.
To understand this paradox, we have to travel back before Ferrari ever sold a single road car. Back then, the cars themselves weren't really the business. They were simply the bill for something else.
That something else was racing, and it quietly explains everything that followed for the next 80 years.
LVMH was built by a man who bought up heritage. Ferrari was built by one who refused to sell it. One philosophy says acquire everything beautiful you can find. The other says, make only what you'd keep yourself. That single difference in mindset quietly created two of the most valuable brand strategies in modern business history. We already told LVMH's story in a previous episode. This time, we follow the road not taken.
Fair warning. By the end of this episode, you may start questioning whether growth is really the goal at all.
Let's start where every great obsession begins, with a man who simply couldn't stop racing cars. This is the story of Enzo Ferrari, and the empire built entirely from what he refused to compromise. 1947. A small stone workshop in Maranello builds its very first car under its own name. Enzo Ferrari never actually dreamed of building cars for wealthy men. He simply dreamed of winning races.
Road cars were never the real mission. They were simply the funding mechanism for something far more expensive.
Every single road car sold existed for one purpose: to keep the racing team alive and running. Because when racing is your real business, you don't build cars to satisfy the market's endless appetite. You build exactly enough cars to fund the next racing season. And never, ever one more. This wasn't scarcity marketing at all. There was no marketing department yet. It was simply cash flow discipline.
But accidental scarcity taught Enzo something most CEOs never learn: that demand exceeding supply is real power.
When a wealthy client demanded immediate delivery, Enzo would sometimes simply refuse to sell him the car at all. He reportedly once told a buyer that his money wasn't good enough to fix his mistakes on the track. This wasn't arrogance for its own sake. It was a filter, protecting the brand from ever being cheapened. Every single rejection quietly reinforced one message: owning a Ferrari had to be earned.
Compare that to LVMH's philosophy: heritage acquired, scaled up, and distributed into as many hands as possible.
Both strategies are perfectly rational, but they optimize for two completely opposite definitions of what value even mean. Ferrari's early scarcity wasn't written in any strategy document. It was survival, but survival slowly hardened into culture. By the 1960s, Ferrari's waiting list had quietly become nearly as famous as the cars themselves. Clients weren't customers anymore. They were applicants, and rejection slowly became part of the brand's growing mythology.
And that's exactly when accident became architecture. When Ferrari realized scarcity could be engineered entirely on purpose.
The next question was obvious. How do you turn a happy accident into a fully repeatable system? That very system still runs today, more deliberate and more ruthless than Enzo Ferrari ever could have imagined.
Today, buying a Ferrari isn't really a transaction at all. It's an interview, and most applicants fail it.
To even qualify for certain models, you first need a documented history of owning other Ferraris already. The rarest models ever made, like the LaFerrari or the Monza, are never actually sold. They're allocated. Ferrari's headquarters ultimately decides who deserves each car, based on loyalty, spending history, and personal relationship. In other words, money alone has never once been enough to buy the most desirable Ferrari ever made.
That's the exact opposite of LVMH's entire model, where the goal is converting as many wallets as possible.
LVMH wants a teenager saving up for a small leather good today and a handbag 10 years later. Ferrari wants the exact opposite. Fewer buyers, much deeper pockets, and a relationship measured in decades. There's a well-known internal principle at Ferrari, one that sounds almost self-destructive when written down on paper.
Former chairman Luca di Montezemolo once said Ferrari should always produce exactly one car fewer than actual demand.
Read that again. The stated goal isn't to meet demand, it's to fall permanently, deliberately short. Most businesses treat unmet demand as a straightforward failure. Ferrari treats it as the entire business model itself. That permanent shortage does something deeply psychological. It makes ownership feel like membership in an exclusive club. Dealers don't sell inventory off a lot like everyone else. They manage relationships with clients who've waited years. In some cases, buyers wait over a full year for standard models and far longer for limited editions.
And here's the part that should make every growth-obsessed executive deeply uncomfortable. Ferrari doesn't want that to change.
Ferrari has publicly stated it will keep annual production capped, even as global demand keeps steadily climbing. It's the only major automaker in the world that treats "we could sell more" as a threat, not a target. But engineering scarcity only actually works if the product underneath is genuinely worth waiting years to receive. So the next question naturally turns financial. Does this scarcity actually translate into genuinely superior investment returns for shareholders?
In 2015, Ferrari did something almost heretical for a scarcity brand to do. It went public.
Wall Street suddenly had to answer an unusual question. How do you value a company refusing to grow volume? The answer surprised almost everyone. Investors valued Ferrari far more like a luxury house than any ordinary car maker. Ferrari consistently trades at a price-to-earnings multiple that dwarfs Ford, General Motors, and most other automakers combined. Its operating margin regularly exceeds 25%, a figure much closer to a handbag brand than Detroit.
LVMH, by contrast, plays an entirely different financial game. Deliberate diversification spread across 75 separate maisons.
If one maison stumbles badly, another quietly compensates. It's a diversified portfolio, not one concentrated single bet. Ferrari has no such cushion at all. Every dollar of value rests on one badge, one factory, one obsession. That level of concentration is genuinely terrifying on paper, and yet the market keeps rewarding it anyway. Why? Because scarcity doesn't just support the price here. In Ferrari's case, scarcity actually is the product.
Compare resale values directly. A used Ferrari often holds its value better than almost any car on Earth.
Some rare, limited editions actually appreciate in value the very moment they leave the factory floor behind. No LVMH handbag, however iconic it might be, behaves like a financial asset the way a rare Ferrari does. This effectively turns every Ferrari owner into an unpaid brand ambassador with a real financial incentive to protect. Owners actually lobby against overproduction themselves because their own asset value depends entirely on it staying rare. It's a remarkably tight, self-reinforcing loop. Scarcity protects value, value protects loyalty, and loyalty protects scarcity again.
LVMH loop works differently. It reinforces recognition and reach, not scarcity and deliberate restraint at all.
Neither loop is actually wrong. They're simply optimized for two opposite outcomes: dominance versus pure desire. But every strategy carries some hidden risk. And Ferrari's extreme concentration comes with one very specific vulnerability. So let's talk about what could actually break this model and why LVMH is quietly circling it.
Here's the uncomfortable truth neither company really likes to admit. Both business models have a breaking point.
LVMH's risk is dilution. The more accessible a brand becomes, the less it truly means to anyone. In recent years, LVMH pushed noticeably hard into canvas totes, branded sneakers, and several highly visible mass-market collaborations. Each move widened the customer base considerably. Each move also slightly cheapened what exclusivity used to actually mean. There's actually a specific term for this in brand economics: the slow erosion of what's called aspirational scarcity.
Ferrari faces the exact opposite trap. Its ceiling isn't dilution, it's simply running out of room to grow.
Shareholders eventually demand growth, but growth is the one single lever Ferrari has sworn never to pull. So, Ferrari found a clever workaround: grow revenue without growing car count. Simply sell more per single car. Personalization programs let buyers spend hundreds of thousands more customizing a single car to their exact taste. Merchandising, theme parks, brand licensing, Ferrari monetizes everything without ever touching the sacred production cap itself. It's a genuinely clever answer, but it only works because the core scarcity remains completely and totally untouched.
The exact moment Ferrari meaningfully raises annual production, its entire carefully built mythology risks collapsing almost overnight.
Meanwhile, LVMH bets that recognition compounds faster than exclusivity erodes. So far, it's been mostly correct. But cracks are quietly showing everywhere. Some LVMH maisons have begun pulling back from years of overdistribution. It's a quiet admission that even the volume model has real limits, and Ferrari might be on to something.
So which risk would you personally rather carry? The risk of being everywhere or staying small?
There's no universal answer to that question, but there is a clear pattern worth noticing across both empires. Every luxury strategy, no matter how different on the surface, is really just a bet on scarcity's meaning. LVMH bets that scarcity can be manufactured through pure storytelling. Ferrari bets it must be structurally real. So which bet is actually winning right now? The final numbers tell a surprisingly clear and decisive story.
Let's return to exactly where we started. Ferrari makes less and somehow matters more. Now you know why.
Scarcity isn't some marketing trick simply bolted onto a product. For Ferrari, it's the entire operating system. LVMH proved that luxury can genuinely scale without losing all of its meaning, if managed with real precision. Ferrari proved the exact opposite, that refusing to scale can itself become the single most valuable strategy of all.
Neither company is actually right or wrong here. They simply chose different currencies to build their empire in.
LVMH's currency is reach. Ferrari's currency is restraint. Both, in their own distinct way, are forms of discipline. The real lesson here isn't which model to copy, it's that every brand must choose its currency deliberately. Most brands simply drift into a strategy by accident, the way Enzo Ferrari once did. Few ever choose it on purpose.
That's the real difference between a brand that lasts 80 years and one that quietly fades in 8.
Deliberate choice, sustained steadily over decades, quietly compounding. That's the actual engine behind both of these empires. So, the very next time you see a waiting list somewhere, ask yourself what it's actually protecting. Sometimes it's protecting absolutely nothing at all, and sometimes it's quietly protecting 80 years of pure discipline.
Ferrari's real product was never actually the car itself. It was the discipline to say no, repeated for 80 years.
And in a world utterly obsessed with more, that single refusal became the rarest luxury of them all. 2 empires, 2 currencies, one question that still has no final answer. Exactly how much is enough?
That question will actually follow us into the next episode, where scarcity meets an entirely different battlefield.
Because manufacturing scarcity in cars is one thing. Manufacturing it in something people actually consume is another entirely. If you truly want to understand luxury, don't study what brands sell, study what they refuse to sell. That refusal, held consistently for 80 straight years, is worth more than any factory LVMH could ever build.
This has been Business Case Files. Subscribe now for the next chapter in this ongoing empire of restraint.